Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. Today we're going to be briefly comparing the fiancé visa to spouse visas for the United States. And a question I get rather often with respect to both spouse visas and fiancé visas is, as the title suggests, why do fiancé visas tend to take less time than spouse visas? Well, there are a couple of rather pithy answers for that, and I'll just go through it rather quickly. I'm going to set aside the K-3 visa for the analysis in this video. K-3 is kind of a middle ground visa between what you could call a classic spouse visa, like a CR1, IR1 for a U.S. citizen. It's somewhere in between the K-1 and the CR1 and IR1. I've done a lot of videos with respect to the K-3 on this channel. I suggest checking it out. But just comparing the CR1 and IR1 categories with the K-1, what we're talking about with respect to the difference is this. One of the big ones is the K-1 fiancé visa has a much different relationship with the National Visa Center than does the CR1 or the IR1 visa categories. And by this, what I'm talking about is essentially the K-1 bypasses NVC altogether, whereas NVC is an integral component to the overall processing of an immigrant visa case in the CR1 or the IR1 visa category. So that's the first thing to take away. The second thing to take away with respect to the fiancé visa when comparing it to a spouse visa, especially again the CR1 and IR1 versus the K-3, which we'll set aside, the CR1 and IR1 visa confer lawful permanent residence, conditional or unconditional, depending on the underlying circumstances of the situation. It confers lawful permanent residence at the time of entry into the United States, whereas a K-1 visa only confers 90 days of lawful status in the United States for the couple, the American citizen foreign fiancé couple, to get married in the United States and file for adjustment of status. So in a sense, yes, the K-1 visa is faster, but the overall process of becoming an immigrant or becoming a lawful permanent resident, I should say, in the United States as a result of use of a K-1 visa is overall a longer process. Whereas the CR1 and IR1 process it's sort of front-loaded. So the CR1 process and the IR1 process, one gets married before coming in the United States in that category, and upon you got to go through Department of Homeland Security's United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. You got to deal with National Visa Center, and then finally you've got to deal with the U.S. Embassy for Thailand. You got to deal with the U.S. Embassy here in Bangkok. So it's a longer process, and again, it's front-loaded. I also think there's a level of scrutiny specific to the visa itself in the case of the CR1 and the IR1 because it confers lawful permanent residence at the moment of entry, as opposed to the K-1, which does not do that. And there's another whole process to deal with adjustment of status that's an entirely separate adjudication. So for that reason, for those two main reasons, I think those are the fundamental two reasons why K-1s take less time than IR1s and CR1s. And to understand this perhaps a little more fully, CR1s and IR1s are a more fully formed visa, if you will. The status conferred upon entry in a CR1 or an IR1 is lawful permanent residence from the get-go. Whereas again, the K-1 only confers 90 days of lawful status for the purpose of getting married and adjusting status to lawful permanent residence thereafter.